I'm Lisa Bailey.
And I'm Patrick Bailey with iqless.com. Today is March 3rd, 2018, and this is episode 10. Okay, what are we studying? So, what are we studying?
I think we're just kind of going through the usual curriculum. So we are doing the ancient civilizations, and we're moving on to the ancient Greeks, and we moved up to 1 Samuel in the Bible, and so we're just kind of trucking along with language arts and grammar and writing and math and
And then as for dad class has kind of stopped for the moment. In the new year, we haven't done an episode since September. But I did a lot of dad classes throughout last year, and they were doing really good on that. We focused a lot of the last semester on sewing. So we were doing fabric and I was teaching how to sew and sew buttons and how the machine worked. They did a pretty good job on that. But right now I'm not doing dad class just because of a couple of things. One, just work has gotten really busy, but I'm starting to get past that, so hopefully I'm going to reintroduce dad class again. And also we got a 3D printer, which broke, and now is fixed, and we'll probably talk about a little bit about that later on here. But that's kind of what we're studying right now. Okay, what have we bought? So it has been a while since September, so we have a big, long list of things we bought. So we'll just kind of go down one row and the other. So there's been a lot of generic stuff. So I got music lessons are continuing with Corbin. He's still doing the trumpet, doing some private lessons. Let's see, Mr. Popper's Penguins. That's just a book for Kindle, right?
It was a study guide.
Study guide. We're still doing a monthly rec, so they're still doing swimming and different things like that. That's our Aurora recreational fee. We pay a month to get access to all the swimming pools and workout rooms and all that stuff. We bought a fancy music stand, I guess.
We did.
It's been a while. They're kind of cool because they all fold up, right?
Yeah, so we should be able to keep that forever because it's all foldable, and it just kind of compacts down into like the size of a box of spaghetti. So it's really nice.
Let's see, more music lessons, another rec fee. Joanne's fabric. So I spent some money on some fabric because we were sewing pillowcases and learning how to sew buttons. I just bought a bunch of random fabric, and so we did a lot of fun stuff with that. Still have a lot of it left over. Mm-hmm. Still need to make more pillowcases for downstairs, but overall pretty good. Let's see, you went to... Oh, you had a day at the museum, right? So there's an IMAX fee. You guys went and watched a movie. More music lessons. Did some costuming. So we worked on some costuming stuff. We're trying to get the kids more involved rather than us doing too much of it, since they know some more sewing, so they should probably do more next year than what we did. Let's say we got some pencils. Another movie. I guess we went to there again, right? Another trip to the museum.
Yeah, I think that was with a group. The first one was just me and the two kids, and the second one was with more of a big group. Okay.
And more music lessons. So we got some index cards, monthly rec, more music lessons. Oh, and PE Plus. We're continuing to do PE Plus this semester because it was pretty successful last semester, right? Mm-hmm. So there's if we haven't mentioned our last video or prior video, there's a guy around here who does PE classes for homeschoolers. And so he charges, $180 a semester? Depends on how many kids.
It depends on how many kids you have, yeah. The more kids you have, the more of a discount you get.
Per kid.
Per kid.
So we have 2 kids and we spend $180 a semester? No, wait, there it is. 50 plus 185. So what is that? So $235? Mm-hmm. So $235 for 2 kids for the whole semester. And they meet once a week and do a bunch of PE together. Mm-hmm. They also do PE stuff on Friday school, but this class is proved pretty well.
And then they'll have a field day, too.
A little field day.
Yeah.
On Friday school, not on PE Plus.
No, on PE Plus.
Oh, there's a field day?
He does a huge, when he brings all of his classes together, does a huge field day.
So does he do one class every day of the week? Or 2?
Seems like it. No, he'll do like different areas, and the areas are pretty spread out, so he'll just do one, like one's down in Castle Rock.
Oh, so they meet we meet the same place every week.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so he'll do different areas so he can help the different area homeschoolers. Okay.
Yeah.
But that's been very successful, I think.
Yeah.
More music lessons, more monthly rec, more music lessons, since he does it every week. Then we got PE plus, that was the deposit plus the rest of it. Let's see, more music lessons, more monthly rec, Homeschool Conference. Oh, we paid for Homeschool Conference, which we'll probably talk about later on. Homeschool Conference coming up in June that we're going to go to, so it's going to be our first homeschooling conference, so that should be interesting. Had to go pay for Bitsbox again. I delayed it a few months because one of the nice things about Bitsbox is sometimes you may have too many built up. Like I probably have 4 or 5 built up. And so I turned it off. You can go in there and turn it off for a few months. So I turned it off for 3 months.
How about just pause it?
Pause it. Sorry, not turn it off. Pause it. So I paused it, but now the 3 months have gone by, so now I need to pay for the new year. I'll probably get 1 box because I still have a surplus, and I'll probably pause it again for another 3 or 4 months.
It's probably a good thing to do in the summertime.
That's true. Oh, yeah.
We'll go into more of what we're going to do, what's new kind of stuff, but that would be a great little thing if they start to pile up something to do in the summertime with your kids.
That's true, and they like Bitsbox a lot.
Because the school year gets really busy, especially with all the holidays and vacations and things like that. So in the summertime when we don't take our holidays, because there aren't really any holidays, big chunks of holidays, and there aren't really any big vacations because we take them all off season. Mm-hmm. It's a good time to do Bitsbox.
Catch up on them. That's a good idea. Okay, so maybe I won't turn it off. Maybe I'll get a collection of. I'll do a few here this semester, but I'll probably, if I don't turn it off, I'll probably end up with like 7 or 8.
Because they really like them.
They do, and it helps me because if I try to teach them coding on my level, they get frustrated because I go too far. But I like the Bitsbox. I won't go too much into it right now, but I like it because they have some little lessons there that I can go through like a page without frustrating them. Mm-hmm. So I can say, hey, today we're going to talk about, this one subject, and I can pontificate a little bit on it without going too crazy about it and frustrating them.
Which is a great example right there.
Pontificating. Yeah, using the word pontificate. Right. Okay. Anyway.
Plus they get cute little manipulatives.
And they get cute little toys.
Yeah, I remember getting my own little magazine. Remember the Highlights magazine?
Yeah. And
the first thing you do is look at the back page.
Because they had toys?
No, because they had find the things that were wrong or silly, and you circle it.
Okay.
That's like the bonus page. And then once you do that, you go through the magazine.
That's,
they play with the manipulative, and then they
do a
have
good
fun
job
with it. So.
I need to go do some videos on Bitsbox one of these days because it's a good system. I like it.
It is.
Okay, then more music lessons. And then as far as the big stuff, we've had a lot of big stuff this time around. So we bought the 3D printer, which with shipping was almost $800. That's a Prusa 3D printer, which we'll probably talk a little bit more later on here.
You might be hearing some of it squeaking behind us.
Yeah, you can probably see it. I actually have it set up over here now. And that's actually printing something right now. I just turned it way down, so it's going slow and quiet. But it is printing a giant carabiner right now. We'll go more over that later on, but I'm liking it. That's also what's delayed my dad class a little bit, is I wanted to get that set up properly and probably I want to do some lessons on 3D printing, which is coming soon. Let's see what else here. So we bought a trumpet. The guy Corbin takes lessons from, of course, if you're a musician, you have more extra backup instruments. So he had a nice backup trumpet, nicer than Corbin's, and all of a sudden he realized Corbin's trumpet was his uncle's. And he realized Corbin was having trouble with it, and I'm no trumpet guy, I'm no music guy, I have no idea. But I guess he was playing this, and he saw Corbin struggling, and so I guess he picked it up and started playing it, and it was just really restrictive, like he couldn't get enough air through it. He's like, this is messed up, it's broken.
If this is all you have, that's fine.
So he sold us his secondhand trumpet, which actually is pretty nice, and so Corbin's like really stoked now because it's way easier to play. Mm-hmm. So he spent some money on that, and he gave us a really good deal. Mm-hmm. So that was really nice of him, and we bought that. Let's see what else we have. Amazon Shiloh.
Study guide.
Swim lessons. So we set him up for swim lessons.
Not lessons, team.
So, but now he's at a different
facility.
He's at Breck, right?
Yeah.
He's at a different Beck. He's a different. Got a. I don't know what the problem was with his old team. Maybe it was just more older people, and now where he's at, there's less older people, so he's getting more attention. He's getting more lessons.
I think where I was before, they just assumed that the people that were involved in that level knew what they were doing, had already been through the ropes.
Mm.
And Corbin hadn't, even though he's a really good swimmer and a fast swimmer, and he looks very proficient when he does it. He hasn't been taught any technique.
Yeah, there's all the little refinements that make the big difference.
Mm-hmm. And he hasn't been taught those, and a lot of the other kids had. And so, talking to other moms and parents, I moved him to another place where the coach there focuses more on technique, and we were very happy with it. He is loving swimming right now.
He is. He is doing a good job on it right now. It's like Amazon books for $50. We bought some books, I guess.
Yeah, I bought a bunch. Like Christmas. I bought a biblical atlas. I bought a little encyclopedia, kind of little things. And
then we had to add a bunch extra money that was slightly unplanned. In truth, I'm trying to up how much we put in there now. You can see I was doing $300 a month, $200 plus $100. Now I am doing $400 because we have more stuff going on, which will hopefully prevent me adding these big one-time extras. So last time I did add an extra $950, which is a big chunk, so that we could get our books. For next year, we could have ordered late, but if we order soon enough, we get like a 20% discount. I forget what the discount was.
Yeah, I forget the discount too, but it was the biggest discount. And if you delayed and ordered past into the month of March, the discount percentage went down. You still got a discount, but the percentage went down, and so we
spent.
We got the curriculum for 2 curriculums because we got Kendall's curriculum for 5th grade, and since Corbin is going to be a 9th grader in high school, we got him also a first level 9th grader high school curriculum. So that includes 2 curriculums.
That's 2 curriculums. Oh, that's
plus a new math program. Because Corbin's moving on in his math. And a writing program that My Father's World has created. So we'll start that here.
Okay, so that makes more sense to me. So at this point, since we bought a lot of the curriculum last year, we were hoping to spend probably half as much as we did the prior year. But now we're spending about the same, but that's because we're buying 2 curriculums. We're buying 2 curriculums.
Okay. And you have to think, sense. Kendall will eventually do this curriculum
we can
as she gets older, so it's kind of like a BOGO.
Okay. And so we're getting up there now, so we're getting close to breaking $10,000 since we started all this. But it's been quite a time. We've got 2 years of schooling in, and we're including all of our extracurriculars in here. And so you might look at that number and think it's big, and it is. But how many of us actually account for what we all do? And you'd be surprised how quickly you can spend $10,000 over 2 years, right?
Actually, that would be like more 3 years because
3 years.
You have to buy the curriculum for the initial year you start.
That's true.
And then after that first year, before the first year was over, we bought the curriculum for the next year. And then right now we bought the curriculum for the next year. So that includes 3 years of curriculum, which includes 4 years.
And it includes a 3D printer.
More importantly.
Which is important. Okay, I think that's everything we've bought since last episode. And it's been a lot, but it's been a long time too.
It's been busy.
And it has been
As you can see the pattern. It's just kind of a pattern, which is okay. It's good to get into kind of a pattern of what you're doing.
Well, that is what we had bought. Okay, what have we started? So what have we started now?
Well, Corbin has finished his catch up with math, and it probably took us a lot longer than what I had planned. But I am very happy we did that because I know exactly where he stands as far as math.
I think he's doing really well, right?
Well, and so not only that, his confidence in math is just completely different than where it was when we started this whole homeschool thing.
So he's where someone his age should be middle of the road. Middle of the road good.
Yeah. He's good, average math.
But with a lot of confidence and oomph behind it. So by next year, he should be ahead of the game, probably.
So we'll see. So he has caught up, and he's no longer on the Singapore math curriculum. And I gave him the placer test for math, whether to put him, what math level to put him in next. And I kind of had an idea of which one. and we're going to move on to Saxon math curriculum. So it was, do I put him, I guess there were ultimately 3 choices. You could do the 8-7 level math, 8th grade, 7th grade level math. You could do pre-algebra, or you could do algebra. And so I gave him the placer test, and we put him in pre-algebra. So as of right now, and we have, 4 more months of school to go?
Yeah.
March, April, May, 3 more months, full months. We are going to truck through pre-algebra. And I've told him, and, well, Kendall doesn't know this yet, but she will. We're going to do math through the summertime, too, because I've noticed that when they just completely stop, it takes a while to get them back going.
It's hard to get them going.
In anything.
Yeah.
Like when they were done, when they took 2 weeks off for Christmas, that was just 2 weeks. It was like 3 weeks to get them back in the swing of things.
Yeah.
And it was not fun. And so we'll at least continue something. Maybe on a modified level. Maybe like Corbin one day and then Kendall the next and Corbin the next. And,
Yeah, like not a lot, but at least get them going, right? Yeah.
So we'll do pre-algebra for these 3 months, and then we'll do pre-algebra through the entire summer. And hopefully, because he and I were looking through the pre-algebra book, and he's like, I can handle this.
So what's after pre-algebra? Algebra, or do you go to geometry?
Algebra 1.
Algebra 1. So
Algebra 1, geometry, algebra 2.
And then trig.
And you do your trigs and your calculus and your pre-calculus and
That's the fun
all
stuff.
All those. So, and I was looking, like I said, the book looks like a lot of review of what he has already done. It's just solidifying what he has done before we really add on some algebra. So, and
Okay.
Kendall is going to start, so My Father's World is created a writing program. They used to recommend writing strands, which I thought was good. It was fine. It got them intrigued. And so I think My Father's World kind of meshed the two together. And so we're going to start that starting next week. We're going to see how it goes.
Cool.
Yeah. Just kind of gets her writing more.
Good. You know how to write. I was a horrible writer. My English was just
I know how to fake writing really good.
I just do it. I can do okay just because I write so much, but it's not like anything eloquent. I can't write anything fancy by any means.
I can't either. I'm not an author.
Well, that's different. Yeah.
Anyway, there's so much writing in everything else they do. It's kind of incorporated in everything anyway. This just kind of triggers things in her writing.
Okay. And then also, another thing we've started is prepping for high school, which we'll probably get talking a bit more in the chat section about this. I should say prepping for high school, prepping for college.
Well, you start with the end goal in mind, and you kind of work your way backwards.
Because our plans are our kids are going to go to college. And part of that is as a homeschooler, I'm not going to get too much in this section about it, but how do you get into college if you're homeschooling? I think it's easier now than it has been before, but we want to, especially Lisa and I agree, we need to go, dot our I's and cross our T's and make sure we've got our butts covered so that when they show up, they don't go, oh, you've been homeschooled. What have you studied? Are you ready? And so we've gotten some help on that. We've done some research, especially Lisa, and I think we kind of have a clear idea on what to do. And we especially need a clear idea because next year is when high school starts for Corbin. And
well,
so,
it's when you start documenting it.
Yeah, so when high school starts for your kid, that's when you need to start documenting. And we'll talk about that at the end, but that's one of the things we started is we haven't started it, but we've done the research trying to figure out what to do because next year is coming.
Well, and going to this conference in June will just really finalize kind of our plan on what we're going to do and answer any little detailed questions that we might have. So
okay, so that's what we've started. Okay, so what have we stopped? I think the only thing we've stopped just recently is dad class. So I haven't been doing classes. So I haven't been doing their multiplication with them or getting them to do their typing or whatever little thing I'm studying with them. And that's just as the beginning of this year, because we were doing that before Christmas. We were doing sewing and typing, and it was all going just fine. But between work, all of a sudden for me, got really busy, and so I don't have a lot of free time. And also, part of what I wanted to do in this next semester was 3D printing. And we got the 3D printer, we put it together, and I broke it. And so work got busy, it was broken, I didn't have time to come back and fix it. We had a short vacation, so things got delayed, probably a month longer than I thought they would. Now that I've got it back together, hopefully this weekend or next weekend, I'll put some dad class stuff together and we'll actually do some classes. I hope next week, if not the week after, because I think those are valuable. But I stopped it because I was busy and I broke a printer. But we'll get that going again. So that's what we stopped. You didn't stop anything, right? Not
Just
really.
math for Corbin.
You stopped math.
Well, we stopped the Singapore math and start
the next one.
the Saxon math.
Okay. So that is what we've stopped. Okay. Anything neat that's been happening? Well, one neat thing is we're figuring out this high school thing, which we kind of butted heads on it because I wasn't getting what she was saying. But I think we have a clear path now, and we're working on it now. We've talked to the people in the district, and so that's been pretty neat. Also, getting the 3D printer stuff working has been pretty neat, and I'm very excited about that. I'll be able to report probably next episode on some of the neat stuff I have a lot of plans for homeschooling and for some videos on it to help other homeschoolers to promote the fact that 3D printing is going to be really cool for homeschooling. Those are some neat things that have happened. But I don't have any there's no individual stories that have happened in the past few months of, they've read a giant book that they couldn't read before. They're just progressing along really well.
They really are.
They're doing great, yeah. Okay, well that's kind of it for neat stuff. Okay, next. What's been frustrating? Well, a couple of things. One, we haven't done a video since September, so that's been frustrating. Because we've been too busy. So one thing that's been frustrating for me is my day job's gotten busier. Hopefully that's going to clear out in the next 2 or 3. I don't know. I say that. Hopefully it calms down the next month or two to a little more steady pace. But it has been frustrating. The other thing that's been really frustrating is when after we built this 3D printer, it broke. And so I broke it. It was my fault. But really frustrating sitting there trying to, it makes it doubly frustrating because when I break things, I like to do a video showing how to fix them. So I have to think about that. It takes more time, so it takes 2 or 3 times as long to fix something because I want to make a video showing people how to fix it. So it's 3 times more frustrating when I break something. Even though it's good, I'm glad to make videos for it, but it takes longer to fix. So, especially when we're printing cool stuff out. Mm-hmm. Anything else been frustrating? I guess trying to get them back up to speed after Christmas was a little frustrating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm starting to learn my lesson on that. In fact, I don't even think we're going to take a spring break.
Well, you could take a light week, right?
I could, but I don't know. I don't know.
We'll see.
Our springs here are so cold anyway. It's not like we do anything because we usually get snow and it's cold and windy and rainy and
just depends on the week.
That's true, but it's not like spring in other parts of the United States where it's warm and your garden's growing already. We still have 2 months to plant our garden. So because that's at the end of the month. Yeah. So we'll see.
Okay, we'll see. Okay, so that's what's been frustrating. Okay, chatting. So we got a couple of things to chat about. One thing I want to chat about for a little bit is a 3D printer. So we got the 3D printer. I got it working. I'm not going to go show you too much of what's going on right now, but we're pretty excited about it. So we bought it. Kind of one of those. I think there's a lot of people who've wanted a 3D printer for a long time, and I was one of those. It's just how much you're going to spend and when does it make sense? And it's kind of argued so much money for a toy, even though it's really cool. But what happened is probably sometime last year, I forget the exact month it was out, but we get a magazine called Make Magazine, and they did a review of the current, top printers in a certain price range. And this one came out on top, and I started looking at some of the stuff and looking at what he was doing. And I said, well, maybe it's a good time to start buying this where it's, I didn't know where the 3D printer industry was at because it's still a hobby, It's not a no-brainer, but I thought they had gotten better over the years, and I thought they were at a point where it's like, oh, you can buy this, and you may have to do a little fiddling, but for the most part, it works pretty well. Well, I don't think it's quite there, but it's not as bad as it used to be. And so we got this. We did put a video out there, a 10-hour video. My wife helped. I tortured her. She helped me record it. So we had a 10-hour of just video, so it was actually longer to record, of building the entire thing. And I didn't cut anything out. And so we built that whole thing. It took 10 hours of video time to put it together over several days. Put that video out there, and I was kind of shocked on how many people would watch it. A lot of people watched it as we put it together. And I meant it just to put it out there to help other people who may have been putting it together and got stuck on a certain part or were confused, because parts are confusing. Even though he does a really great manual on how to put it together. It's a great manual. We were following the manual and just showing back and forth what we were doing. But the response was pretty good. I was like, wow, this is amazing. And then we put another video out admitting to everyone that I broke it. So we put it together. It worked for a few days. And then all of a sudden it started acting funny. And it wasn't working quite right. So I was trying to disassemble it and figure out what was going on. And in my disassembling, I kind of cut a wire with a vice grip, which was pretty dumb on my part. But we showed that video, showed how we broke it, showed what was going on. And then now, hopefully later on, maybe even today, I'm going to do a video showing what we fixed and how we fixed it. I had to go order some parts for the parts I broke, put it back together. And then also I figured out what the original problem was, which I won't go over here. I'll make another video for that. But we got it fixing, and it works now. And I'm really stoked because I think you need a little bit of mechanical knowledge, or to have someone with mechanical knowledge, because from time to time things are going to probably break. Mm-hmm. But not as often. At first I was a little bummed because I really broke it, and it wasn't working right. I thought, wow, boy, you got to really
know what you're doing.
You got to really know what you're doing and do some maintenance all the time.
Like a layman person like me would find it just frustrating.
Well, I think a layman person like you might need a little bit of help, but then from time to time, I was worried, like my dad used to tell me, back in the 80s, if you got a VW Bug from the 70s and you weren't a VW Bug mechanic, you were going to become a VW Bug mechanic because they were just prone to problems. Mm-hmm. And I think there's some truth to that still with these things, but now that I've gotten this fixed, I've been using the crud out of it, and I've had no issues. So I was worried for a while going, oh man, I'm going to have to do maintenance on this every week or every other week. I don't think that's going to be the case. I'm only a week into after fixing it, but I've been abusing it and it's been fine. So I get a feeling it's more like, I don't know, once you fix it and do a few things, you may have to swap nozzles and different things for different reasons. So you need to understand some stuff, but you probably don't need to do anything too crazy, but maybe once every 6 months or once a year. So you need somebody who can do a few things. But anyway, so we got it together. It's going good. My plan right now is to do two kinds of videos. One, just, how do 3D printers work? And that's a really cool thing for homeschoolers who may go into manufacturing or really, physical and think the 3D printing aspect is really cool. But another whole aspect I think is really, really cool is, hey, what kind of 3D models are out there that you can just download for free and make that can help you teach? Mm-hmm. Where I need your help on that to understand some stuff. But
especially for those kinetic, kinesthetic, need to see it, feel it, watch it being built. Really kind of cool.
So I still have a naive view on that, not being a professionally trained teacher. So my naive view is like, oh, hey, you're going to teach Egyptology. Let me go get like you can see here is a bust of Nefertiti. Let me go find a bust of Nefertiti and a 3D print for the Tower of Giza and an obelisk. And I think that's part of the aspect, but there also might be other things where some people, and I don't fully understand this like you do, they're tactile. Mm-hmm. So you might, it might be useful for people to print out words and hold them. It's like you're having problems spelling, you might print out words because people can touch it.
Or print out the alphabet and use those alphabet to spell words with them.
Yeah, I think you can also print out a lot of manipulatives. Mm-hmm. And that can get your kid involved too, because he can see it's like, hey, we're going to print out...
You know, what I found a hard thing to find, and I never found it, were certain shapes.
Certain shapes.
Like if I had a...
octagon or something.
Or a preschooler and I needed a cone. Because we were doing cones, volumes, and things like that. I couldn't find a cone, and if I did find a cone, you know, it would cost me $20. I'm like, I don't want to spend $20 for the shape of a cone.
Yeah, because that could be a cool thing to do, like make
So you can make your own shapes, like a parallelogram, a trapezoid.
Or if you're teaching about volume, you could print out a square and a cone and a sphere that all have the same volume.
Yep. Just, you know, really cool things like that.
So I think there's a lot of really cool stuff you can do. I think at this stage in the game, a lot of free stuff has been solved. I don't think we're like ready for everyone to have one in their house and just push a button. It's no brainer. There's a little bit of a brainer to it. But if you can do a little bit of repair, if you can change the oil in your car, you can probably build this and fix this with some help and guides watching the internet. And then from there...
That's why you're here.
You don't need to be some manufacturing crazy person. You can say, hey, here's these cool files. Let me download them and make these. I think it's worthwhile.
It's worth a try.
You know, or if you're
anything, it'll benefit our kids.
Yeah. Big time. And so that's my plan. I hope to do some videos like that and help people out. So we'll see how that goes. I'm really excited. I'm really stoked. All kinds of really cool stuff. So there's enough about 3D printers. So I'm really excited. Other stuff. We got a homeschool conference, which... We will.
It's in June.
There we go. I'll put this in the show notes somewhere. This is a Rocky Mountain Homeschool Conference, which I guess is a Christian homeschool conference?
The Christian Home Educators of Colorado is sponsoring it.
And it's where's it at?
It's here in Denver.
Oh, it's here in Denver. Okay, I was thinking it might be down
in
the
Springs. Off of 58th and I-25, where Mom used to work.
Oh, where your mom used to work.
Yeah, the Denver Mart.
So that'll be cool. I've never been to one of these conferences. I guess we'll learn a lot. I mean, one thing that we're hoping to take away from it is definitely figuring out transcripts for high schoolers. That'll be one thing we want. And just whatever else is there, right?
Yeah, any other helpful information that people would have about shuffling your kids through the high school experience. That's about it. And of course, anything we learn for Corbin, we would also apply to Kendall.
Of course. So that'll be exciting to go to. See what's going on there. Let's see.
That's 3 days.
That's 3 days.
3 days.
Do I need to take a day off work for that?
You do.
Okay. I need to go put that on my calendar.
I need to take a couple. I think it's a Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
It is?
I think so.
I'll take 2 days off. Yeah, I'll do it. Totally worthwhile. Okay. Next thing that we were dealing with was, what we're looking at is HSLDA, which is Homeschool something Advocates. What is it? Homeschool? I don't know what the acronym is. What is the acronym?
Homeschool legislation. I don't know.
Whatever the acronym is.
This is the union.
We were looking to join this group, which is a little bit of money every year, but I think what they do is a couple of things. They advocate for homeschoolers. They have lawyers and different things like that.
It's a national thing. It's not just a state thing. This is national.
And I think they also provide some services. I think we came across them because we were looking at transcripts. How do we do high school transcripts? And so
they had a lot of videos that explained to us, now that you've got a almost high schooler, what do you do with them? And so they had several videos that they produced, and they help you go through step by step. What are some things you need to do for your future high schooler? So that's how we got hooked in with them.
So I think we may join them here in a few months, in part because, hey, it's good to join a group who's advocating for you, who are, they have lawyers and they're paying attention to legislation. And I think homeschooling is going pretty well right now. Mm-hmm. But still, there's probably some people who don't want homeschoolers around for whatever reason, which seems a little silly to me, especially in light of what's going on. But these guys pay attention to those things and advocate for people.
Well, I think the older your kids get, especially in high school, and you need to make sure that you have a group like this just in case something does awry, and they can help you out.
But then also more specifically for us is we want some help with figuring out transcripts, and they got some information and some things we can download to help us with that. So that'll be one of the big things I think we'll get out of them too.
Yeah.
So there's that. Let's see, what else?
And you can see here they break it up state by state. So.
Oh, cool, because every state has different rules.
Yeah, so they really are, I like them.
Now, the last thing I kind of wanted to go over, now this is I'm going to go over some Colorado state specific stuff and also some Aurora City, that's where we live, specific stuff. So it may not apply to you, but it may be somewhat inspirational to go look and try to find these things for your own state or your own city. While Lisa was looking for this registration stuff, I started doing some research because my opinion before this, I should say registration, transcript, my opinion before this transcript stuff was like, well, heck, let's just teach our kids to do the right thing. We have our stuff set up just right. And then probably in their senior year, they'll go to some kind of local community college and go to classes for half time and get some college courses done. And they'll know their thing, and they'll take their ACTs and SATs.
So simple.
And
so simple.
And they'll just go in. Now, and then they'll apply for college, and they're in. Now, part of that...
Here comes the doctor.
Part of that's my naivete. And also, where I grew up in Idaho, at least at the time, where I went to the University of Idaho, the vast majority of our students were first-time students. First, their parents didn't go to college. I was in that boat, too. So they catered to us. So it was like, okay, if your ACT scores were high enough, which wasn't all that difficult, and your GPA wasn't horrible, you put your application in and you showed up. And not that it was a great school, but it was very accepting to bring in the freshmen. You didn't have to pull some miracle out. I mean, if you were, an F student and your ACT scores were horrible, yeah, they might deny you. But for the most part, you kind of got in.
Well, and you had counselors in your high school that would set up your transcripts and do a lot of that stuff behind the scenes that you would never notice.
So part of my just this naivete, which is I think actually could work. So if you went to there and said, hey, here's my ACT, SAT scores, and I don't really have a transcript, you probably could get into college being a homeschooler, but it makes it more difficult, is what I'm hearing and seeing. Or if they came back and said, where's your transcript? You go, I'll just make one up and go, here you go. And they go, yeah, fine. But I also am of the mind is like, I want to have all my I's dotted and T's crossed. There's no excuse.
Let's have a little integrity.
Well, yeah, integrity. I wouldn't just make stuff up, but I'd be like, yeah, okay, yeah, he took algebra and he got an A. So what we do in Colorado, we looked this up, and so Colorado has this here. What is it? Let me click on this. The Higher Education Admission Requirements. That applies to all state colleges in Colorado. And so they kind of have what they want on your curriculum. And so they basically say, hey, English, you need 4 years. On your transcript. And so they have example transcripts. And the transcripts actually are fairly simple, like a one-pager. And so they basically say what they want. And so we've actually talked to some other people here on how to do it properly. And so it's not all that difficult, but you got to start doing it their freshman year.
Yeah, and you need to at least have a 4-year goal in mind, a year-by-year goal, and of course it's going to change and tweak, and so you just pencil it in. But you need to know ultimately where you need to get to, and the steps you need to take to get there. Or else after 4 years you're going to be lacking one class.
Yeah.
And sorry.
And to me, and I may be wrong on this because I'm not a college admissions person, but just thinking through it logically, it's somewhat similar to a resume. I send a resume in somewhere and they go, I got 1,000 resumes for this job. Let me sit down and really digest. Let me spend an hour digesting every resume and seeing what this person's all about. They don't do that. What they do is they go, how do I filter these down to 10 students? So the colleges out there are going, okay, let me get some data points I can put in a database, and then I can filter these guys out to get down to the number of students I want to send admissions letters out to. And then once I get down to the nitty-gritty, maybe I'll take a few of them who are arguable and look through some other stuff. And so you just might not cross a T and they'll throw you out. So one thing they brought up in a meeting we were at is there was some really brilliant kid, and so his freshman year in high school, he was taking calculus or something. And so he went, man, I got calculus done. I've got way more math than anyone else has. And he'll say, okay, you know what? I really want to study something else the next 3 years, and I'll come back to calculus later. And so on his transcript, it looks like he had 1 year of math. It was calculus. But his transcript, they go, hey, you don't have 4 years of math? Okay, you get thrown in the pile. And so you just need to meet what their expectations are. And so we're trying to figure all the little nuance of that. But the nice thing in Colorado it's spelled out for us. Mm-hmm. And this type of transcript, I'm guessing, will work pretty easily with other out-of-state places, I'm guessing, pretty well. So we're just trying to meet that. And also, we're assigning the grades. Not that our kids are going to get A's just by default. They're going to get what they earn.
Yeah, because I still grade they tell me all the time, can you grade this for me?
Yeah, and we'll grade them.
I grade it and give them a percentage. And, like Kendall says, B's gets degrees. That's what she says. So,
yeah. Where'd she learn that from?
I don't know where she learned that. A's gets doctorates.
A's
I
gets
don't know.
doctorates. Okay.
Anyway.
So anyway, there's all that. So then so we're trying to figure that out, and we're getting ahead of the game, and I think we'll be okay. We have a lot of help and a lot of examples to plan the rest of our 4 years of curriculum out, and also record them correctly. So I'm not too worried. We're heading in the right direction. Okay, then the last thing that we're doing, which is specific to Aurora that we're looking at, is and this, you may have stuff in your city too, because cities, like we have a Friday school they go to that's run by the public schools here. Now, one reason they do that is because if they get to count our kid, they get funding. Mm-hmm.
And our kids get good classes.
And they do it. Yeah, they
get art.
It's a great thing. It's a win-win.
Yeah.
Now, in addition to that, they also have some other stuff that they do in Aurora. So in Aurora, if you want to, they call it the Ascent program. Concurrent Enrollment.
Yeah, that's the 50th.
There's Concurrent Enrollment, there's this Ascent program. So in Aurora, they have this thing called Concurrent Enrollment, which if you qualify for, you have to go take a test. You take a test, and then you can take classes. You can take one class, or you can take a full load.
Yeah.
You can go to the local community college. And so you could take one class, or you could take a full load, and those classes count as high school classes. And they also count as college classes.
Guaranteed transferable credits.
For Colorado schools.
Yeah, for Colorado State.
And so he can be taking high school class. He's getting high school and college credit at the same time. Yeah. And so if your kid's brilliant, if your kid's an Einstein, our kids aren't Einsteins. They're smart, but they're not Einsteins.
Average kid.
He could start in 9th grade and take 4 years of high school and basically
have two associates.
And get two associates or whatever he wants. Or in the case of our kid, right now we're not planning on doing anything next year.
No.
But maybe in 10th grade he'll go, you know what, let's take one class for one semester that they pay for, like drafting.
And you can even go to the vocational school.
Yeah, I take drafting or something.
Yeah, so it doesn't have to just be your community college. It can be your vocational school and take vocational classes.
Yeah, so hopefully by the time he's 18, when he would traditionally graduate, he might have somewhere between a year to 2 years of courses done and paid for. And paid for by the city. So it's
more importantly, experience.
And the experience.
So, you're not just jumping into a college environment.
Yeah. Although I think homeschooling, as I see them study, is more like college than high school is.
Yeah.
But yeah, it would be... 3D printer's making noises.
Yeah. Turn it up a little bit. Oh, is it hitting something? Is it hitting it?
No, I don't think... No, it's not anything. It's just making a weird noise. Well, anyway. We'll find out what happens.
Turn the quickness up a little bit.
Make a weird clicking. Well, we'll figure it out. The last thing we have is there's also an Ascent program. So in the Ascent program, they'll actually pay for a 5th year of high school, which is for college courses. It actually opens them up to other schools. So in our case, there's a Metro State downtown. They can go to Metro State, which is more of a traditional 4-year kind of college, and they'll pay for it. So that applies to us, but it may be interesting to look around your community and see you might be able to get some college paid for because you're homeschooling.
I'm not sure why kids don't take advantage of the Ascent program more often, because even though, I mean, you're kind of considered a fifth-year senior, which is probably a ding on your ego, you're getting a year's worth of college courses paid for. I could care less, what you call me, whether I'm a high schooler or a college kid. I'm getting some college paid for.
Yeah.
Which is pricey.
Okay.
So.
Well, that's some cool stuff for us. So, well, anyway, I guess we'll wrap that up. So that was a long chat session, but there's a lot of cool stuff to chat about. Hey, if you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, hey, give it a thumbs down. Also, if you like what we were doing here, subscribe to the channel by clicking the subscribe button. And lastly, have a piece of info to share? Just post a comment.